Okay, so let's talk about a seller's agent. A seller's agent under a listing agreement with the seller acts as the agent for the seller only. A seller's agent has the following affirmative obligations to the seller: a fiduciary duty of utmost care, integrity, honesty, and loyalty in dealings with the seller. Now, to the buyer and seller, that agent has an obligation to exercise reasonable skill and care in performance of the agent's duties, a duty of fair and honest dealing and good faith, a duty to disclose all facts known to the agent materially affecting the value or desirability of the property that are not known to or within the diligent attention and observation of the parties. The parties are the buyer and the seller. An agent is not obligated to reveal to either party any confidential information obtained from the other party that does not involve the affirmative duties set forth. Is that clear as mud? Okay. So what did I just say? The seller's agent has an exclusive duty to the seller. Their interests are above everybody else's. To sum it up, the seller is put at the top of the pyramid, on the top of the pedestal. That agent's duties are one of a fiduciary. Fiduciary is similar to an attorney-client, doctor-patient relationship, confidential. Their needs and interests and goals are of utmost importance. They put those ahead of the brokers and anybody else's. So when you're an exclusive agent for the seller is king. Everybody else is beneath them. Does that make it clear?
Yeah.
So back to your question, if a buyer wants to make an offer on a listing agent's listing and there's no buyer rep agreement with the buyer, in many cases the listing agent's allegiance, because of the fiduciary requirement, is one where they're working for the seller and their interests are ahead of the buyers. In some cases, that's how it plays out. Let's talk about a buyer's agent. A buyer's agent can, with the buyer's consent, agree to act as an agent for the buyer only. This is where the buyer rep agreement comes into play with agency. This is why buyer rep agreements are good for the buyer, because of agency. In these situations, the agent is not the seller's agent. Even if by agreement the agent may receive compensation for services rendered from the seller. What does that mean? It's what I said earlier. Most of the time we show and sell homes on the MLS. The listing agent is offering compensation to the agent representing the buyer. That compensation is coming from the seller's proceeds. So it's essentially the seller's money through the listing agent being paid to the buyer's agent. That does not mean that the buyer's agent gets to put the seller's interest above their buyers just because they're getting compensated by the seller. How's that for confusing? So an agent acting only for a buyer has the following affirmative obligations to the buyer: a fiduciary duty of utmost care, integrity, honesty, and loyalty in dealings with the buyer. And to the buyer and seller, diligent exercise of reasonable skill and care in performance of the agent's duties, the duty of fair and honest dealing and in good faith, duty to disclose all facts known to the agent, materially affecting the property, value, desirability, and the agent is not obligated to reveal to either party any confidential information obtained from the other party that does not involve the affirmative duties set forth. So, are we still confused?
Where is that text from?
Oh, it comes right from the Civil Code, from the disclosure form. I didn't dream this up.
Just making sure we're the sources.
Cut and paste. I did not make any liberties with any of this text because it's that important. It's really super important that you understand who is representing you and what their duties are to you. So if you hire a broker to represent you and they have not given you the agency disclosure form until you write the offer, and they haven't confirmed their relationship to you because you don't have a buyer rep agreement, what does that leave you with? Nothing. You don't know who's really working for you.